Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 179. What? No, not 279. My apologies. Mindful Live 279. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. It is Wednesday, the 30th of August, the day before the holiday. For many Trinis, it's a day for partying. Good night, Paul Duncan. It's a day for partying for some Trinis. But, you know, we're still here talking about the issues. Because Wednesday is Tobago Day. Smack dab in the middle of the week, we talk Tobago issues and how can we just leave Tobago out? How would that be a kind thing? So, we're talking Tobago. Be sure to hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok. Drop a comment if you have something to say and you're looking at this on repeat over there on YouTube. It really does help the algorithm. And if you think that this podcast, this show should raise and there should be more viewers, well, tell people about it. Word of mouth is one of the best ways. You tell people, hey, there's this nice live show that goes on basically every weeknight. You can go and take it in and listen to Tobago issues and stuff and share it with them. That's one of the good things you could do over there. And as per usual, it's brought to you by Mindful Education, Mindful with 2 L's _ education. If you are looking for us over on Instagram, it's the educational institution that I run. We offer learning pods, homeschool style classes, preschool all the way up to CXC, individual attention tutors, individual tutor, private tutoring for most CXC and CAPE subjects. If you are interested in those, hit us up, message me wherever you see me, and we will get that tutor out to you. Alright, we're talking Tobago, some of the issues making news over in Tobago, and there was some tragedies over in Tobago for this past week. There was some tragedies, and we're going to look at some of them and how easy it is for some situations to turn tragic. These could be some life lessons in general for people when we look at these stories coming out from Tobago here. Fight with neighbor ends in death. Tobago cops probe. The death of a 67-year-old man in Tobago after a fight with his neighbor is engaging the attention of police. Renald Fraser was at his home at Queen Street in Betsy's Hope Village at about 8:55 p.m. on Monday when he got into a confrontation with his 36-year-old neighbor. The two got physical and blows were exchanged between Fraser and the woman. Well, ain't that a plot twist? So it was a woman he got into that confrontation with. A 36-year-old woman neighbor of his. Hey, Ronnie! Shortly after, Fraser fell to the ground and began to experience breathing problems. The fire service ambulance was contacted and firemen responded, but Fraser died before their arrival. Police said the woman has been detained, although the incident has not yet been classified as a murder. Investigators are currently awaiting the results of a post-mortem, which is expected to be performed this week. I took a 5 from drinking to be here. Jeez, Ronnie. Jeez. That's how you bring in our Independence Day. And to me, stories like this are just lessons. They're life lessons. And how fickle life is, how easy some of these situations just turn south. They go badly, they go awry in just the blink of an eye, the snap of a finger, and that's it. Hi. They just go to the extremes. Who would have thought some little fight between an old man and his woman neighbor? And it might not surprise you. Who knows? When this was occurring, the onlookers might have been laughing. A 67-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman fighting, it may have been a humorous kind of scene. And then what would you know, like, bam, that uncle on the ground gasping, and somebody could be a murderer. I don't know, Nisi. That's what the investigations are attempting to find out. Hey. Reality is, Michelle says, at that age, people already start to get feeble, unfortunate. And the reality is, not only at that age are people feeble, the human body is actually not as resilient as you might think in certain situations. It's not that difficult for a human body to end, to expire. One hard lash in the bar in the wrong spot, young lady is known. Well, I don't know anything about that. I don't know how well the young lady is known. I'm not a Tobagonian. I am not from Betsy's Hope Village out there in Tobago. I have no idea about who this young lady is. Ronnie, like you're hearing 5 voices when you see that. I hope tomorrow, because tomorrow is the holiday. If the run up to the holiday is like this, what is the holiday going to be like? Or are you sure there's going to be more hope that you would be able to focus tomorrow? But nonetheless, things like this are just lessons to me in staying out of some needless physical confrontations very often. Even if you win the physical confrontation and the uncle drop on the ground and he's gasping for breath, next thing that was just the uncle's time to croak. But nonetheless, you might be held in jail pending investigations, pending a post-mortem till they find out that, okay, uncle was really just, on his way out. Who knows? I don't. And to me, it's a run up to another. Come here. Tell the people good night. Say good night, folks. Yeah, and to me, it's a run up to another story coming out from Tobago there. Another story that shows these kinds of foolish decisions and how quickly. Why are we fighting our elders anyway? Good question. And how quickly they go south. There are many foolish young people, Michelle. Tragic end to bar line. Friend's gun goes off, killing girl. A lime in a bar turned fatal yesterday morning. Well, this is not yesterday as in yesterday from today, but the other day morning when a 17-year-old girl was shot dead in Tobago. GRY says it is alleged that she was hanging out with friends, male and female, and a guy pulled out a gun because he heard a song he likes, and while pulling out the gun, it went off. That's the allegation I heard also, GRY. That's also the allegation I heard. Precious Wills of John Gorman Trace in Bonaccord was a pupil of the Mason Hall Secondary School. This incident, along with the murder of Water and Sewage Authority employee Dario Sandiford, 41, at his home on George Street in St. Madeleine, has pushed the 2023 murder toll up to 383. It's the 9th murder in Tobago for the year. According to police reports, around 3:12 a.m., Wills was at Up Top Bar located on Milford Road, liming with a group of friends, when a song came on and a man whom they were liming with pulled out a firearm. I know many times we don't like to be too judgmental in things like this, and people don't want to judge other people and judge parenting and all of that, but to me, as Nisi is asking there, 17 by a bar, I think there are legitimate questions that could be raised as a 17-year-old liming at a bar at 3:12 in the morning. I understand that times change. I understand that times change, and liming late isn't the same thing it once was once upon a time, and I understand that, but still. Caribbean Princess, I was 21 and my father locking the door at 10:30 p.m. I don't think at 17 I would have been able to be out at 3 in the morning. And also, yes, it seemed to have been some real foolish action. Now, Nathan, that ain't have nothing to do with times changing now. Yes, it seems to have been some real foolish action on the part of the young man who was there allegedly pulling out his gun and firing the shot. But it tells you something that this young lady was liming in the presence of men, at least one man with an illegal firearm. Let's say the intent for the action played out. So the guy was able to pull out the gun, put it up in the air, and bust a few. Plow, 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 plow. The song come on, Byron come on, and it's, yeah, fire, 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 Talibans. Yeah, man, whatever song it is that turns your gears. Do you think this 17-year-old girl would have taken it upon herself? Oh no, there are guns in this party. Let me leave and go home to my mother's home. Or do you think she would have been, yeah, yeah, woo, yeah, cheering on the gunfire? So, it is very unfortunate that the young lady lost her life. That is extremely unfortunate. No one wants that. At least I don't want that. I wish it didn't happen. But in analyzing these things in the post-mortem, you can ask, to me, 17 in a party with gunmen at 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, she not Ronnie. That's not even a question. Ronnie says that place very ghetto. I don't go there ever. Well, no, you don't have to tell me that I don't know up top buying Tobago. I'm telling you I don't know the place. But I could tell you, if a man feels comfortable to pull out his illegal firearm, to let go shots inside a bar, that's a bar I don't want to lime in. That's a bar I don't want to lime in. Maybe the parents couldn't control her either. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand in terms of reality what couldn't means. If your daughter is deceased, what actions to force control of her would you have taken that you would have considered too far? That you couldn't do to control her? Nah, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that really and truly. The good Lord made us in such a way that parents are quite a bit bigger, stronger, and supposed to be smarter than children. As they come out, they literally come out as little helpless parasites to some extent. You can't control that. I mean, I understand it's not the easiest thing to do, but I don't fully buy it. Telling her about a company, etc. Kids these days have their own mind. We fighting elders. So I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I never buy that. Because there are people in parts of the world that are able to convince their children to strap on bombs and run into public places and become mass suicide murderers, and these things happen. Somehow those parents are able to control their children. It's the bowing out. The bowing out mentally is the reason you can't control these children. That's the reason it happens in the first place. You act like you can't control them, and what would you know? You can't control them. I was reading an article recently. One of those liberal states in the United States, I believe it was Baltimore, Maryland. The city of Baltimore, they recently passed a law because they're very caring. They don't want you to prosecute people under a certain age for certain crimes. There's no way you can prosecute them for certain crimes. And then what would you know if you allow 11-year-olds to freely commit grand theft auto? They become car thieves, and they have 11-year-olds racking up 17 car thefts in 2 months and ridiculous stuff like that. And each time the police hold them, they release them to their parents so the parents could do something. And within a couple hours, they're back on the street. They're back on the street robbing someone again. So yeah, if you can't control them, who will? And yes, viewing of the body was woman body. If you need a spelling, Wait, what? Last year they had viewing of the body. This week they get the act. Oh, okay, Ronnie. Okay, I know. No, I get. Ronnie was speaking at a kind of altitude and height that I wasn't getting. Apparently, that bar had viewing of female bodies last year. They viewed bodies. And now this year, they're actually viewing a body. I think I got what you meant, Ronnie. I think I got what you meant. Police believe it was his intention to just point the weapon in the air. However, in the process of removing the weapon, it went off, hitting Wills and an 18-year-old. After realizing the two women had been shot, the suspect attempted to move Wills to help get some medical treatment, but in the process, he dropped the weapon, which was later seized by responding officers. People in the bar raised an alarm and took the two injured women to the Scarborough General Hospital. However, Wills died shortly after arrival. Up to late last night, the 18-year-old remained in critical condition. So things that go up don't come down. Yes, they do. Every one of those, every time people shoot bullets into the air, they fall somewhere. They do fall somewhere, and if they happen to fall on someone, it's not going to be a good thing. Well, it's not sensible people that shoot into the air, generally speaking. Exactly why I don't support certain types of music. I understand exactly what you say, and I don't support it either. I don't think it's a positive thing. But just so you know, this guy had his illegal weapon beside the music. It wasn't the music that gave him his illegal weapon, just by the way. He had it either way. And what kind of party this is? Don't they search to go in clubs and stuff anymore? This guy just has... Can you imagine that? You're in a party here and this guy has his illegal gun in his pocket. And apparently it has a hair trigger. Me? Party? I'm good. I will stay home with Mrs. Mindful and little baby Mindful, and we would play games. We would play sports, we would listen to music, we'd learn nursery rhymes. That sounds like a good time to me. A real good time. Outside, no thanks. Through Monopoly sometimes. So, you have to be careful who you're playing these Monopoly games with. Not everyone is capable of taking the kind of licks that comes in Monopoly. Hi there. You've returned. Now, speaking further on Tobago issues, jumping into the whole air bridge issue that was highlighted the week before, domestic air bridge a loss for Caribbean Airlines, says Shamfa. This is just a refresher of things that we know. Caribbean Airlines is operating at a loss on the air bridge between Trinidad and Tobago, according to Member of Parliament for Tobago West, Shamfa Kojo. Speaking on Tobago Channel 5's Rise and Shine segment yesterday, Kojo mentioned that apart from the initial purchase of the plane, it also needs to be maintained, and the 20-minute route between Trinidad and Tobago has proven to be costly for the airline due to wear and tear. Now, however, the THA Chief Secretary disagrees with Caribbean Airlines on airbridge profits. Nathan, let's have a games night. I don't mind that. I don't mind that once we could figure out a game that we could play. Risk is way worse. Fight nearly break out a Christmas by me. I remember playing Risk, but I can't remember it very well. I did play it before. Apparently, the Chief Secretary is denying what the airline experts have been saying. He is saying that he doesn't believe them when they talk about it being unprofitable to run Caribbean Airlines. THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine says he disagrees with Caribbean Airlines Limited's view that it is not profitable to operate 24 flights daily between Trinidad and Tobago. At present, CAL operates 12 flights daily between the two islands. In any case, he said as far as he was aware, transportation entities in many jurisdictions were not making profits. I have a serious issue with that argument because I don't know if it is profitable for London to have expended so much money on an Elizabeth underground line. Thankfully, they were able to open it up before she died. A whole new underground line built. I believe he's talking about the tubes in London. I don't know how much money the New York subway makes and if it makes a profit. It is very old and dirty and the trains are creaking and it feels as if you are falling into potholes every so often, but I don't know how profitable it is to them. Augustine was giving the feature address on Tuesday at a stakeholder consultation on inter-island transport and connectivity at Mount Irvine Bay Resort, Tobago. I despise these kinds of arguments. You're arguing two things that are contradictory to each other and you're laying down your stake on both grounds. So he is saying that he doesn't believe Caribbean Airlines when they speak about the flights not being profitable. But then he is saying that profitability be damned anyway. So then why are you talking about you don't believe them on the profitability if you don't care about the profitability? You're making a kind of disingenuous argument there. You're saying you don't believe them, but that's just a whole smoke and mirrors game because you don't care whether it's profitable or not. That's the actual point you're making. Your point isn't that you think they are profitable. That point is to obfuscate from your genuine point. Your genuine point is that you believe it doesn't need to be profitable. You are comparing it to infrastructural transport that was created in places like New York and London. Now, bear in mind, listen to the names of the places he called. Do you know what their commercial taxes look like? The kind of revenue some of those cities make? The revenue London makes it sensible for them to invest in that level of infrastructure. But does the revenue that Tobago make it sensible to invest in 24 daily flights between Trinidad and Tobago? Can you genuinely compare maybe during the peak seasons? Well, maybe during the peak seasons, but you see, either way, here's the problem. Either way, here's the issue that the Member of Parliament was talking about, that Caribbean Airlines executives talk about. Even if the flights are filled, they still run at a loss. A full flight from Trinidad to Tobago is still running at a loss. So it's not even about whether there are enough passengers and peak season or anything like that. The cost is just not worth it. How the Francis Fashion, they always running at a loss. So here's the reason, Michelle. The actual cost to go on a plane and for the plane to be upkept, for the plane to pay the stewardess, for the plane to pay its maintenance staff, for the plane to pay all of its fuel fees, for the plane to pay its pilot, the cost per flight is more than the $150 ticket cost that we are paying. Yes, Michelle, it is that the ticket prices are too low. Caribbean Airlines has said this many times. The actual price is supposed to be something like 3 times the cost that we are paying right now. That's where the actual price is supposed to be at. But the government subsidizes the fare. The government artificially keeps the prices low. And the THA, the Tobago administrators, want those prices to remain low too. They are not petitioning to raise prices. That's why I say I don't understand sometimes where these arguments that they are making come from. Because if they legitimately want to make these arguments, to me, they have to talk about things like raising the price. Like, be serious about these statements. Provide some kind of feasible plan to make this idea work. But to just jump in and say, to hell with profitability, because New York built an infrastructure and London built infrastructure, we could run everything at a loss. Like, what? Why? For what benefit? Augustine argued that transporting locations around the world goes beyond the profit to the company that operates the mode of transport, because there is a larger impact on the larger economy, and no one at central government seems to be looking at the impact on the larger economy that the movement of people will have. And I understand what he is saying there. Okay. Somebody who jumps on a plane to go from Trinidad to Tobago, they will not just be spending the airfare. When they go to Tobago, there'll be some benefits to the Tobagonians there. They help spin the economy. They spend some there. So just the movement of people themselves would aid in the economy. There's additional profit to them besides just the airline. But how does the airline get that profit? And here is where, again, I think Tobago needs to show the feasibility of these things. If Tobago can show that every Caribbean Airlines trip at this point in the year equates to an average boost in the local economy of $2 million, then they could offer to subsidize and offset the cost themselves. If the profit to Tobago of every flight is so great, then Tobago could pay for those flights to come in. Doesn't that make sense? If the THA is saying that each additional flight adds profitability all around in the Tobago economy, then the all around Tobago economy, you could go around to the hoteliers, you could go around to the restaurateurs, you could go around to the guest house owners and tell them, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pool together a tax. We're going to pool together an airfare tax that's going to offset the cost of additional flights to the island, because those additional flights bring in profitability? Or is it that they know the additional flights don't bring in enough profitability to warrant the cost? Is that the case? Chief Secretary, Tobagonians not treated with dignity at Port of Spain Port. We'll go to that after. Chief Secretary, fix for air travel woes may lie outside of Caribbean Airlines or the government. THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine has said the solution to fixing disruptions on the air bridge may lie outside of state-owned carrier, Caribbean Airlines, and the government. Now, this I am liking. Mr. Farley, this line that you're going down on here, I like it. solutions outside of the government, I nearly don't even need to hear anymore. He made these statements at the same Mount Irvine Bay Resort meeting. While we decide on what CAL can do, what the Parliament can do, we also should also discuss important questions. I agree with this. I have no problem with this. Sir, by all means, invite every private airline to come. Let them come. See if the product that you are offering is indeed so profitable. And there are private airlines in the Caribbean, just so you know. There are private airlines in and around the Caribbean. Let's see if I could find this guy. Inter-Caribbean, not in financial trouble. Inter-Caribbean Airways, which services certain destinations in the Eastern, Western, and Southern Caribbean, is financially stable and is here to stay. That's the revelation from founder and chairman Lyndon Gardiner as he responded to the number of interruptions that have caused frustration and inconvenience for passengers across the network in the last month into this month. So there are private airlines. A small airline here that services the Eastern, Western, and Southern Caribbean. There are these airlines, and these airlines are working on a profit basis. Now, there are problems with them, granted. They don't run perfectly, and the CEO here, the founder there, was speaking about one of the problems they are facing is Caribbean Airlines is stealing pilots from them, well, poaching pilots from them, and you understand that? This is why sometimes private businesses complain about government being involved in employment. Because the pilots at Caribbean Airlines, it's easy for them to talk about what they deserve and the salary they deserve because they don't have to care about the profitability of the business. They just demand money from the government and the government find out how the money comes. But if you work for a private airline, you can't demand money when the airline isn't making any money. So, yeah, I agree with the Chief Secretary. Go look. Welcome all of the private airplane and aircraft carriers. Welcome them. And see if they will be willing to come. See if they could find a profitable way to run on this local route. Privatize and profit share. Well, there would have to be profits. Just so you know, Michelle, there would have to be profits. Chief Secretary, Tobagonians not treated with dignity at Port of Spain Port. THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine has slammed what he considers the poor treatment often meted out to Tobagonians and other travelers at the port of Port of Spain. He was speaking on Tuesday at a stakeholder consultation. Augustine said even before boarding vessels, passengers are not properly catered for at the port. He said they often have to make a mad dash across the busy Ricing Road to get to the port. They built a walkover nearby, but they did not even consider the travelers between Trinidad and Tobago. To think that there needs to be a solution at Ricing Road. You who coming from Tobago has to still make that dash across the road. Nobody really care about you. I really dislike this kind of tone. I really like tone. What he's doing is a very dangerous. Imagine if Tobagonians were a different race than Trinidadians, and he came out and said that The Indians in Trinidad treating the Africans real bad and making them have to run across the Ricing Road. It is sowing division. It is sowing animosity. It is creating a narrative that Tobagonians are looked down upon by Trinis. And at a systemic level, there is systemic persecution of Tobagonians by Trinis. And that is not true. At least not in the example he is trying to highlight there. If there are negatives, and mismanagement, and there's mismanagement in how the Port of Port of Spain runs their business. It is not specialized against Tobagonians. It's general mismanagement. I have been making this statement nearly every single Tobago live I do, on nearly every single Tobago day. Regularly I hear Tobagonians complaining like, the central government of Trinidad has a special hatred for Tobago. Look how bumpy our roads are. Look how we don't yet have a drain. And I'm saying, this is the complaint of everybody in the Twin Island country. No one is especially setting you apart to persecute you. This is the general mismanagement of the country. But in pursuit of political ends, you playing games, eh? In pursuit of political ends, you're going to sow this level of division into the country. This is dangerous. Caribbean Princess, but some Tobago people as treat Trinidad people bad. Let them hear your accent and see. Yes, I know there is animosity between some of the people, but that's not on a systemic level, and that's not like the Port of Spain wants Tobagonians to get bounced crossing Ricing Road. Augustine said when passengers get to the port, they have to stand up under a tent in the sun and rain in the most undignified manner. It baffles me why, in this day and age, you have to be herded under a tent like cattle. Rain come, sun come, and you under a tent squeeze up. You just stand up there under a tent because the facilities might be too good for you to wait in. Augustine said, a next set of herding occurs at the ticket counter. You are there in the hot downstairs, waiting to go upstairs and wait for a long while. Eventually, someone will come and move the chain and you pass through security and then you sit in the waiting area. Like, this is the complaint. Everybody is hoping that the row they are seated in is the lucky row that morning or afternoon to get onto the vessel. But this is 2023. Why can't we have a system where the boat is there parked waiting? Why can't we have a system where people much earlier can be processed and go on the vessel? I could answer this question to him. I could answer this question. We don't have it because the people don't want it. If you have a system where everybody has to come half hour earlier to get onto the boat, and you get onto the boat early and the boat leaves promptly and nobody with their late ticket could come in, the Tobagonians that reach late are going to complain. They're going to say that this isn't working for us. The reason that you have so much movement and lackadaisical behavior on the port is because that's how the culture of the country is. The port runs that way because that's the way the customers want it to run. The customers are unserious, so the staff will be unserious. The customers run late, so the staff will be late. What he is asking for, he's asking for Germany levels of public service while treating it. Hey Nate, can I come join in? Of course you can, Adriel. I didn't see you were there. Of course you can. Yeah, bro.
Yeah. And one thing I note, because I mean, as well as most people would know me on TikTok, they know that I work on the ferry and stuff. Right? Especially what I see is like, okay, we have a system where it is they claim that the boarding for the boarding or taking on of standbys would basically be ceased at 40 minutes prior to departure, right? Which is to facilitate whoever was the last bit of people getting on standby. It gives them enough time to have everybody at least be on the boat, settle down, and be prepared to depart now. Right, and what I end up seeing is that it will be like if the boat's supposed to leave at 4 o'clock, we would still be boarding and taking on, standbys. You'll just see standbys trickling in. And I mean, honestly, because especially from what I hear and from what you're reading with the chief sec there, Dan, sorry, but he need to come in there and work in there and see how that system operating and then start to make his comments. Because it's not only Tobagonians that is sitting inside the tent, it's trainees too. Everybody going through the same thing. Every single person is going through the same thing. Right, so.
I understand what you're saying, because I do go to Tobago sometimes. Now I don't work on the ferry like you do. I know JY over on Instagram also does that. I don't do that, so I may not know intimately every detail, but I have been there. I see how lax it runs, and it doesn't run that way generally because of the staff. The staff come to work for the time they come to work for. Most likely for the staff, it's not difficult for them to just tweak things and get things running very promptly, and it's not very difficult. That's just going to hurt the customers, the public who is accustomed to the lackadaisical run. And I find it very strange. This chief secretary would say things like this, but this chief secretary was very upset with the licensing division for trying to keep the letter of the law, trying to run Tobago on that kind of militant rule-based thing. He was upset over that because that's not how Tobago runs. You understand, you have to have understanding to the Tobagonians, and I agree. I don't think that the licensing officer should go over there and give people the most strict tickets for a little tint, a little broker. No. Allow a little, I agree, allow a little latitude, but understand that allowing a little latitude in how the country functions is why the port allows some latitude. That's what happens. And the reality is, I think personally, this is me personally, I don't know this to be true, but I think personally, Tobagonians get preferential treatment on that sea bridge between Tobago and Trinidad. Those Tobagonians who do that nearly every day or every week, they know all who they know, and a lot of the staff are Tobagonians also. When they get in there, you reach in before, you have a ticket, your ticket is not any standby anything, and you see some Tobagonian person coming, talk to somebody, laugh with George, laugh with Harry, laugh with Mavis, and pass you. Whoosh. And you like, but, and I dare you as a trainee, worse yet in the Scarborough port, I dare you as a trainee, try and make noise about who they let to pass in before you, and see what would happen, because I've seen it with my own eyes too. So like,
I wouldn't take that risk at all.
No.
Keep them out shut. Because God, guarantee your name going to the bottom of that list. They're just going to be taking in people and bypassing you. But it's just ridiculous. And even with okay, like how we saying Tobagonians being treated undignifiedly or whatever, in the port of Port of Spain. Right? Then if that's the case, then right now the same, excuse my friends, the same asinine arguments could be made for Scarborough, because right now, you literally have to go check in, right? When you check in any normal place, you can't even go through the normal domestic side to basically get your bags x-rayed and stuff, right? You have to come back outside the building, right? Go must be about 10-15 meters, right, outside, and stand up in a whole long line, right, taking due, or God forbid it rain, right, on the cruise ship terminal side, right? So you're getting wet there, you pass through the x-ray, everything, right? You have to get wet again to get back inside to the domestic side. That, the same argument could be said, right? So if trainees now stand up and say, but we being treated undignified, right? Or we not being treated humanely, in Scarborough Port too, watch now, you will see their faces turn and see how dare you,
Yes, and listen, I will say it. Some of you port workers are really good. Don't treat me badly when you see me, if you see me there. But there are some port workers in Scarborough that seem to be very lackadaisical. They seem to be like they're doing you a favor when they're doing a job. And it's not something that I'm speaking that's foreign to Tobagonians. I saw an ex-THA member speaking about this. Ex-THA member on work ethic. Too damn long to get things done in Tobago. Former THA Assemblyman Jerry McFarlane has strongly criticized Tobago's work ethic, saying it takes too long to get basic things done on the island. He was speaking on Tuesday during the open forum at a stakeholder consultation on inter-island transportation and connectivity at Mount Irvine Bay. McFarlane, a businessman, raised the issue as he reflected on the Chief Secretary Farley Augustine's plan to make Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. And I agree. And I think a lot of it might be at fault of the reality that so many people work for the government, so many people work for the THA, some kind of government state level job. Their money is assured, it's nearly impossible for them to be fired. So very often the work ethic is that kind of public sector work ethic. And what I think the Chief Secretary is actually complaining about when he's talking about Tobagonians being treated undignified is he's complaining about the public sector work ethic. That's what he's complaining about. He wants the Port of Port of Spain and the Port of Scarborough to run like if it was privately owned. That's what he wants. That kind of, hi, good morning, welcome, just this way, mister, just this way. Well, that's what happens when it's privately owned and there's an HR manager who is looking through the camera to fire you if you don't have the right size smile on. That's how those things happen. But when somebody has a government work that they got from a government link that they cannot lose, how do you get them to smile at 8 in the morning for the first sailing? You can't do anything about that. Public sector work ethic, you know what I mean, Michelle. And nearly every time I say this, I have to, qualify it that not all public sector workers are inefficient workers or bad workers and have a bad work ethic. I don't think so. But there is a reality where, and I made a video speaking about incentives, where the incentive nature of public sector work very often could allow for some of the worst workers to be employed in those sectors because there's no incentive to have to work. So they don't. Kim Oliver says, from the port to the parlors in Tobago, the people behave as though it's favors and not paid work. You know, Kim Oliver, I don't even think so totally, because I find a lot of the food places that I go to in Tobago, they smile, they treat me well, they load up your food box full. I don't have a problem with them. They work on that basis. Some of the guest houses in Tobago, some of my recurring guest houses that we go to, they treat you well because they make money based on how they treat you. Private sector, I find when I look at the private sector in Tobago, I see better work because they want your money. Exactly, RL. I don't mind that, I don't mind you treating me good because you want my money. That's the agreement of the free market. You do a good service for me, not just out of the kindness of your heart, but because you want my money. And that's why I prefer the free market. Like, if you told me I could get the port workers to do good, and there are two ways I could get them to do good. I could get them to do good by paying them. How good they do depends on how much they are paid. One. Or I could ask them to do good just out of the kindness of their heart. Just out of the goodness of their heart. They're getting paid whether they do good or bad, but they would do good just out of the goodness of their heart. And you ask me which one I would prefer? Here's what. Let me pay you to be good. I'm okay with that. I'll pay you to be good. No qualms on my part. RL says, and this is what happens when Tobago wants to be an industrial island instead of a tourist island. Michelle says, to be honest, I think the culture is so entrenched that increases wouldn't solve it. Of course it wouldn't solve it. It's not about increases to solve it, It's not about how much money you make. It's about the money being dependent on your labor. If you don't work good, you lose your job. If you do work good, you are paid well. And that's how you get people to work good. For the most part, that's the secret technique to getting people to work best. Free market. Hey, people, it's the night before the holiday. We're having no live tomorrow evening. There's no Thursday talks tomorrow. I might go and take in some fireworks or something. See the sky lit on fire, something of the such. Something nice with the fam. So there'll be no Mindful Live Thursday tomorrow, but we'll be back here Friday. We'll be back here on Friday around that 9 p.m. time. If you want to tune in, be safe, Michelle Ent. They could make me wonder if to watch the fireworks on TV the way how outside there is. The place is dangerous. I feel like some Mr. Big Underworld figure pressed a button or flicked a switch and just gave the okay to turn Trinidad upside down. Something like 50 murders a month. What is going on? This is insane on any level you look at it. Anywhere in the world, the level of murders in Trinidad and Tobago right now on a global standard level is astounding. In particular, that east-west corridor. The east-west corridor is on fire. Going to Tobago with the family from tomorrow for the weekend, hoping for great service. Hope you reach safe, bro. That sounds like a good time. I enjoy Tobago, I really enjoy Tobago. I always say I feel like I need to buy some property over in Tobago to just relax there for a while. I enjoy my Tobago. Illegal sick leave. It has I saw some back and all with that. I don't know if you all remember, we were talking, someone in the live was talking about how could you ban the doctors from taking their ban the pilots from taking their sick leave, and who are you to tell the doctors no? And just as I was saying, the CEO of Caribbean Airlines proposed subpoenaing doctors to analyze their sick leaves. Just as I told you all would happen. That's where that goes. The field of medicine is a science. You are supposed to make your decisions on a scientific basis. Meaning, you are supposed to be able to explain it. And that's why I said, those pilots do not want to fight that sick leave battle. They would be putting their doctors in trouble. Your doctor who you are accustomed going to get your nice easy sick leave, you are putting them in trouble. I remember there was once upon a time a bit of a kerfuffle that occurred in UE over certain doctors giving easy sick leaves to get away from certain exams, and the university banned all external sick leaves. You want a sick leave, you have to get it from the internal doctors on the UE, in the UE Health Center place there. Michelle says stress is a valid reason for sick leave. Okay, if it's a valid reason for sick leave, I hope that you went to the requisite doctor that can identify that you have so much stress, and I hope that they entered stress as the cause for your sick leave on your sick leave paper. Remember, sick leave isn't just word of mouth. You call into the office and say XYZ are sick. Sick leave is a document. Mental exhaustion from hazardous workplace conditions. Okay, I hope you had a mental health professional that was willing to write that down on your sick leave paper, because that's what they're going to be looking at. What did your doctor write on your paper, and can they prove it? That's why I said, really and truly, the doctors don't want that, neither do the pilots want that. Nobody in that group wants it. That's exactly why the CEO threatened it. They know nobody wants that. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think especially for CAL pilots, and more particularly pilots, I know they have specialized doctors in Trinidad that they go to now, but if I'm not mistaken, right, and anybody in the comments could correct me with this, but I don't feel they could go to just any and every doctor to get a sick leave. They have to go to those, right, to the ones that are, licensed to give them their medical in order to sign that sick leave.
I don't know that for a fact, but there are some institutions that do things like that, and very often what they do is they have a list of recognized doctors, and that may be exactly why the CEO could call up those doctors. They would know who the doctors are. The doctor has to sign their name on your sick leave. Again, that's why they don't want that battle. They do not want that. The doctor might be calling and cussing them if they cause the doctor to be subpoenaed. No doctor wants their name on a subpoena as such. That may be killing some of the doctor's business. Michelle says to get social welfare / disability, the doctor needs to be from public health. Well, there you have it. And even recognized doctors, often there's a slipper 40, slipper 60, and you get your sick leave, and the doctor tells you what you are sick with. We know how these things run in Trinidad and Tobago, if we're being honest. You go to the doctor and you tell them that you need to be sick, and they tell you what you would be sick with, for how long you would be sick for it. It happens. And that's why the pilots aren't going through that battle. They're back to work. They aren't going to put their doctors under the microscope like that. Sick leave ain't that cheap no more. How you know that, Nisi? What's the going price for a sick leave these days?
You see, it's still costing between 300 and 350 for sick leave, and that's just to get the signature. You get your approved paper, signed and stamped, and that is it.
Jeez. People have belly, I can't do them thing. Well, you may have been one of those honest ones who when you do the thing, you sell out yourself and all of that. But many people in Trinidad and Tobago are very fine doing that. You were talking about to collect public and disability and all of that. People are lying to collect public assistance, disability, food cards and all of that. You think people wouldn't lie for a little 1-2 days of sick leave? There are people out here lying for their whole, one of the ones that is amazing to me is how people lie about disability, because basically, if I remember correctly, the disability grant, you basically have to swear an affidavit, as it were, that you are sick and cannot work. Like, you're not getting me to write on a legal paper that I am a sick, barely functioning man, unless I'm really a sick, barely functioning man. How am I going to lie on the functionality of my body? I must be crazy. But there are people who do that. It's harder now. Docs don't want to sign it. Yeah, I'm sure there are some docs who don't want to sign it, but there are always ways around it. I don't think there has yet been a process or procedure that has come about that the dishonest people haven't figured out a way to, trick at some point in time. Docs have to pronounce you almost 100% disabled to get disability. Exactly. If I am not disabled, I'm not even talking about the doctor, whether they're ratching or lying. Like, am I going to lie on my ability? I am going to lie on my... Nah. What's that, Adriel?
No, some, I sorry, you see the culture trend on Tobago, it's too many of us that too comfortable lying to get those kind of benefits and things.
Yes.
Basically free money.
Yes, you're right. I regularly look at that in the news. One of the ministries that has the most theft is the Ministry of Social Development and Youth Services, where you're supposed to be taking care of the least advantaged, the most disadvantaged. And you see in that, literally, as it were, the proverbial stealing of the candy from babies. The babies who can't help themselves, that's where they line up to steal the most candy. Like, sir, people are brutal out there. And I've heard of upper class swiping food cards. Yeah, that has been a thing for long now. How is a food card worth now? I'm not sure. Isn't it like 800 to 900 or something like that? But there are wealthy people there have been wealthy people with food cards for a long time now. Wealthy people with food cards is a common thing. People for sure who don't need the food cards have it.
I know a good few as well who are the big CEO jobs and thing, and them going in and swiping a food card straight in my sea, and I was like, but what really going on? It's ridiculous. It too, boy. I don't know what to say again in this country. I really don't know what to say again.
Like, for me, for you all who listen to enough of my lives, you all know I don't like the government involved in a lot of things, and this is exactly why. When government gets involved, it becomes a feeding frenzy for government friends, etc., etc., etc. But one of the most viable excuses for government involvement is in areas like this. And this is something that, you just have to kind of work along with. Because to me, I think social security and social services like that are some of the most important duties that government actually performs. You don't want people to fall through the cracks. And the reality is, there would always be some people that do fall through the cracks. And I am more willing to allow some theft to happen to save the people who fell through the cracks. Like, if we had a Ministry of Social Development and we know that theft happens and okay, that's going on there, I could take that more than Caribbean Airlines and the pilots and executives there are making off with the extra money of the country. Like, no, not you. You go out on the private market and fight up now. But I would risk some theft to help the people in the worst situations in the country. I could allow that, because really and truly, to help those people, the way those people are usually helped without a government is you need to have civil services. You need to have those civil institutions, those social and cultural institutions, like churches, like religious institutions. And in countries where you move away from religious institutions and the power that those institutions have, very often you find those people falling through the cracks with nobody to help them. And that's a cruel thing. I could be okay with some of that going on. My pet peeve, Michelle says, is one set of healthy young people living off their grandparents or parents' pension. Yeah, there's lots of that in Trinidad. There's lots of that. Lots of healthy people that don't want to work. They're just sucking off of the excesses of the country wherever they could get it, auntie, uncle, granny, and that's how they live through their life. That's pathetic. I despise it, but that's the reality. All right, as I said, people, we aren't staying very long. That's all I have for now, actually. So if there are no further comments or questions inside of the live, I'll be diving out. We aren't here tomorrow. Tomorrow is Independence Day. Trinidad, one up. Big up the Trinis, red, white, and black. Feel it down in your patriotic bones. Trini to the bone. If you are not, well, that's that. I saw somebody say that patriotism is like canned pigeon peas compared to real pigeon peas. It's mimicking something that's real, but really and truly there's no real flavor to it. I understand. But I'm still patriotic. I like my country. I love my country. I'm glad I was born a Trini. Where else would I be? God bless 100 years of more oil wealth. I personally, and this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't think oil and gas is as non-renewable as some people like to speak about it. I don't think we're actually going to be out of oil and gas in a short time. That's my opinion. We will see as the earth progresses. But I think there is a lot of propaganda and narrative building surrounding the renewable, non-renewable, climate change, oil and gas, fossil fuels, all of that. There's a lot of mixed talk surrounding that. For one, just for all of you to know, fossil fuels, oil and gas, is not buried dinosaur bones. That's a lie they told you. That's not where the oil and gas comes from. Ask yourself, why would they tell us that lie? And why is it still being pushed? Anyway, people, I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. That's all I have for now. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Life Friday starting 9. We're not here tomorrow. It's Independence Day. Be sure to hit that like button, double tap that screen if you're still over there on TikTok, and share the video if you are viewing this on YouTube. You know, copy that URL and share it anywhere. Tell people, hey, go listen to this. Tell a Tobago and go listen to the Tobago Live. Go subscribe to Nathan Springer over there on YouTube. Hit that like button, and I will see you guys again for the next one. Peace. Enjoy the holiday coming up, people. Hold it on. Stay well. I'm out. Later.